All right, hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be briefly discussing three short story collections by Arthur C. Clarke. I picked these up some months ago at a thrift shop. So we have the 9 Billion Names of God. There's 25 stories in here. This is the oldest of the three collections. We have Reach for Tomorrow. There are 12 stories in here. Two of them are reprints. Two of the stories appeared in this, and they're reprinted in Reach for Tomorrow. So really, there's only 10 stories in here that are new that I hadn't already read. And then, of course, we have this one here, the final of the short story collections that I read, which is The Wind from the Sun. There are 18 short stories in this one. So altogether, there are 53 short stories in total. Okay, if you don't count the two reprints, all right, 53. Now, Arthur C. Clarke wrote approximately 114 short stories, so I've read almost half of his short story collection at this point. Now, I'm just going to go through. All right, there's 53 short stories, and I'm going to give you the top five, what I think are the essential Arthur C. Clarke short stories. I'm going to start with number five and go through them. And I'm going to say right now that if you were to pick of these collections, this is the best one by far. All right, the 9 Billion Names of God. This is the one that you want to own, because Reach for Tomorrow, I didn't really find any of those. None of those stories are going to make my list, really, other than The Rescue, which appears in here and is reprinted in Reach for Tomorrow. So let's start there. The Rescue Party, right? Originally published in 1946. Story is basically kind of pedestrian, but it's significant in that it was Arthur C. Clarke's first published um, story that was done for money, published in a magazine. So aliens arrive to save Earth before the sun goes nova, but they discover that humans have left in a fleet of ships, and the aliens are awed by humanity's drive to survive, and are kind of impressed by the fact that humans are more advanced than what they thought they'd be, and they go off and search for them at the conclusion of the story. Again, probably the weakest of the stories that I'm going to do in the top five here, but it is significant, and that it's like Clarke's earliest published work. All right, and then number four, short story number four, also in 9 Billion Names of God, is the Sentinel, originally published in 1951. Of course, in this story, humans find a pyramid on the moon left by an ancient alien civilization. It's been placed there millions of years ago in order to judge the progress of man. Um, so yeah, I guess once humanity discovers the beacon, it kind of sets off, I don't know, an alarm system, if you will, or you know a pulse or whatever, to notify alien civilization that humans have discovered it, so that they can establish contact with humanity. It's the basis, why this is significant. It's the basis for 2001: A Space Odyssey. That short story, the concept was kind of adapted into the monolith. So if you've read 2001, or if you've seen the Stanley Kubrick film, this short story, which is only a couple of pages long, was the basis for that. Story number three. This is A Meeting with Medusa. It's actually a novella. It appears here in The Wind from the Sun. This short story, um, actually not very short. It's pretty long. Like I said, it's a novella length thing. It originally appeared in Playboy magazine in the December issue of 1971. And this was a Nebula award-winning novella. It won Science Fiction Award in 1972. Meeting with Medusa, it centers on a guy who is involved in an accident, kind of like I don't know, Howard Falcon is the guy's name, kind of like the $6 million man, right? Like he gets involved in an accident. They're like, we can build him, better, but I guess it's more like RoboCop because they turn this guy into a cyborg. Um, and then he's able to do things that humanity can't do. So it's like transhumanist, right? And he goes to Jupiter and he explores the atmosphere of Jupiter because he's a robot man. He's like a cyborg body, 7 feet tall and whatever, and discovers that there is intelligent life on the planet Jupiter. It's a pretty interesting story. He sees like giant, like stingray type creatures flying through the atmosphere in the lower cloud levels, and there's these giant jellyfish looking things, and you know it's like probably one of Clarke's better stories. Just the length of it's just about perfect. Sometimes Clarke can go on too long when his full length novels, but this story, I was really impressed with it. His characterization is never really strong, but since this like focuses on a single character, the this Howard Falcon character, you really kind of get like a sense that this guy more than some of his other stories. And it was an interesting story. And you think, well, maybe, the possibility of life within our solar system, I don't know. Anyways, it was interesting. The second story here, now these last two, there are recordings of these of Arthur C. Clarke reading these two stories. And I'm not going to give too much away about them because they're really short stories, each of which you can read in about 10 minutes. Now, you can find PDF versions of the 9 Billion Names of God. That's the title of the first collection. That is a story that is also a award-winning short story. It was awarded by the Science Fiction Writers of America, which was founded in 1965. They retroactively awarded the short story itself because it was published prior to the establishment of the Nebula Award. So it kind of gets like a retroactive Nebula, right? 9 Billion Names of God. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'm just going to say, read this one. In fact, you can find Arthur C. Clarke reading it on YouTube. I'll link that below in the description box. I think him reading it is about 15 minutes long. Like I said, there's PDF versions available on the internet of the 9 Billion Names of God. So check that one out. It's like an essential, like I said, I think it's like top 2. It's my number 2 Arthur C. Clarke short story. And then the number 1 Arthur C. Clarke short story, which is another award-winning story, is The Star, also collected in this short story collection. The Star was published in 1956, and it won a Hugo Award. It is a Hugo Award-winning short story, and it is Christmas related. So again, I'm not going to give too much away about it because the thing with the 9 Billion Names of God and The Star is that they both have a twist ending, and if I tell you about them, I will ruin the story. So also, you can find Arthur C. Clarke reading this one. I will link this short story being read by the author below in the description box. Also, you can find it as a PDF. It takes about 10 minutes to read it. Listening to Arthur C. Clarke read it, it's about 15 minutes. So Merry Christmas. Check that one out. It's a perfect story to read or listen to at this time of year during this season. Maybe one you should listen to on Christmas Eve. That's it. Those are my top 5. Rescue Party, The Sentinel, A Meeting with Medusa, The 9 Billion Names of God, and The Star. Two of these, like I said, you can find relatively easy. All of these are really old. If you want a complete collection of all 114 Arthur C. Clarke short stories, they are collected in a single volume. Um, so, rather than picking up these separate collections, I'll probably like unload these because honestly, they smell pretty musty. They're not in great shape. I mean, they stink, right? I'm gonna get these out of my house and probably collect that collected volume of all of his short stories so I can read the other 50 that I'm missing. Anyways, thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.